So one of the things executives often are really afraid of is upskilling the existing labor base, especially in times of labor shortage. Just try to hire a good data scientist with an understanding of industrial manufacturing. It's almost impossible. Yes, I acknowledge this is one of the big hurdles, but there are different strategies how to address it. We will explore this in more detail in our class, but just a few points here. On the one hand side, I see these companies with big, centralized, planned top-down strategies, where big automotive companies set up a vision for, let's say, the engineer 2030 and start to hire young people, to educate young people that they will have these capabilities in about 10 years. There are big education investments. Some companies sponsor university programs and so on. And of course, you have to do it and get engaged in this. But what I personally find more interesting are really bottom-up opportunities to build a skill base for Industry 4.0. So there was one factory by Siemens, and when I visited it, I saw a couple of really remarkable things. And you have to remember that Siemens is this big company positioning themselves very much in the center of Industry 4.0, you know, with their MindSphere platform and so on. And they probably have lots of top-down strategies for upskilling. But in this local plant, I first found a work cell, and they had a cobot. And it turned out that they got the cobot by the, cell manager as a Christmas present. And so the cobot was there for the people to play around with it, and they were acquiring skills of robotic programming. And actually, you don't need to go to university nowadays to do, at least with an advanced robot, robotic programming, but it works like a computer game on an iPad. And these people really, in their free time, played around with a cobot, and a couple of months later, it was in the line, as they actually found a good use for it. The same with data-driven decision-making, machine learning. There were a few engineers. They had some machine learning and advanced statistics in university, and they looked into the data they now organized in Excel. And they took a couple of course classes on Coursera to train themselves some new algorithms, got open source algorithms from the internet, and actually made great achievements in a maintenance environment, what to do without hiring expensive consultants and so on. As this is one of the beauties of the new technologies we are working with today. Often they have much lower level entry. They are easier accessible, and they are much, much cheaper to implement, to experiment with. So for me, one of the core success factors when we talk about skills for Industry 4.0 actually is to give some freedom, some slack to your people, trust them, enable them to learn by themselves. And, well, if you're a busy executive, you know that this is easier said than executed. But I think, indeed, it is much easier executed than hiring hundreds of data scientists from a market that is totally empty. So my advice here is trust and really work with the people you have. Give them tools to play, but also this time to play. Perhaps the last example here. In one of the BMW factories we actually visit with a Masterclass, we saw at our last visit that they now have a small innovation lab for the blue collars at the line. Normally a fancy innovation lab somewhere at the headquarters for the board and the top people. But there they created in innovation spaces really close to the line, with the idea that instead or complementary to the continuous improvement cycles on that plant, these people would get some extra time, some tasks to really explore new technologies that perhaps in the future may enter the line. And again, it was on the one hand side an innovation initiative, but what I saw mostly was a very cleverly designed education initiative. So if you like to discuss these issues in more detail, consider joining our next masterclass on the Smart Factory of the Future.